Okay, sorry I took so long to actually... I wanted to spend the month of January mostly just as time off from YouTube. Well, actually, no, I lied. I was trying to get my recording software to work with VR because I recently got the HTC Vive and I was playing a lot of VR chat, so... Yeah, I couldn't... when I couldn't get it to work, I was just like having a little too much fun, and I completely forgot about trying again or trying something new. So now, I'm actually back. I'm well, not more fame. I'm still play it, but I'm gonna continue my uploads. I actually enjoy doing this, so it's like pretty much. Again, just boils down to, yeah, I fucked up. I forgot to upload. Sorry. I got things. Yeah. Now, I'm currently leveling one of the weapons I'm trying to do for this here, which is obviously, as you can see in the screen, the Prova Vandal. But when you see me, when we go to the cut to the simulacrum, you're gonna see me with a the full build rather than the build I've got at the moment. I mean, I've got most of my full build on here already, but it would be nice if I could actually get the full. Especially because even with this, it was still doing really well, but you've got to see this at its best. Because, not gonna lie, I thought the Prova Vandal was gonna be bad, because it was pretty bad before Melee 3.0, but whoo-wee, I was wrong. And the other two, yeah, they'll have one of them will have a similar opinion on that. So, anyways, with that, I'll see you over at the simulacrum. Okay, so I was being serious about having my full build on. But I sort of unintentionally lied about the whole needing to max it out, because after applying the second former on my build, I was able to get the full build on anyway. So same thing, but anyways, let's flick over this. Prova Vandal. It does have its advantages. For example, it has the second highest base damage of all the machetes, just behind Machete Wraith. It has innate impact damage, so it's good against the Corpus, but I found this did very well against armor regardless. As you can see, it only has 2 elements, so it doesn't benefit. Condition Overload doesn't benefit as much as some melee, but this did really well because it's better. Condition Overload still with just 2 was better than the whole usage of Prime Pressure Point. All right, before I go into testing, I need to get rid of my companion. Quick little dirt fix. So yeah. The Prova Vandal, you can easily get it at... it's a fairly mid-tier weapon in terms of its mastery requirement to get, because you can get it at mastery rank 8. It's the only way to acquire this weapon is if Barakitir, the Void Trader, brings it in on a rotation of his inventory. And in terms of its advantages, it has a pretty average attack speed of 1. It has a good range of 2.5, so you could easily make a good wave clear weapon with primed reach. It's got a base combo duration of 5 seconds. Nice, always nice. It has a 50 machetes, if I remember correctly, have a 55-degree block angle. Then it's got a very good ribbon disposition of 1.29 or 4 blips. So you're looking at some a very solid machete. So if we click over to the build, you see, as I mentioned earlier, I had to put 2 former on because I need to put a V on here. But that's not really needed because, with this build, you need 2 former. But if you feel the 14% crit chance isn't enough, you could easily drop 1 former, which will let's see, I cannot remember. Which is more likely just going to be used for that 1V in court, so you could get away with only 1 former if you want to swap Blood Rush and Organ Shatter for another dual stat or something to buff attack speed like Normal Fury, or in this case you can do something like Shattering Impact. Because how would this affect the Prova Vandal's performance? Well, if you don't like crit on this, swapping out this and turning this into gas, so you have gas, which will also proc the gas proc, as well as toxin procs. So that's already 2 procs. Impact, which makes a 3rd, and then you've got electricity, because the Prova Vandal has innate electricity damage. That's 4 procs that Condition Overload can benefit from. And because Shattering Impact will strip armor the more you hit them, the faster your melee weapon can hit, the better. So that's one of my alternatives that I suggest right off the bat. There are plenty of ways to build. It's like you build how you want, but if you're looking just for a damage output, I could highly suggest this crit build, or if you swap Corrosive for gas and then throw on Shattering Impact. So, onto the build. We have Cyclone Kraken for the stance. Still haven't tried Sundering Weave. Sundering Weave. I still have yet to try that after the rework, so I'm still sticking with my oldie but goodie. Then we have Blood Rush for the scaling crit, as well as Organ Shatter for crit damage, Berserker for attack speed. Again, if you want to get away with adding, but you can add another. If you had 2 form on this already, you could easily put Prime Fury, and if you didn't want to use Blood Rush in that. So after that, we've got corrosive damage and status chance from Virulent Scourge and Voltaic Strike, followed up by Drifting Contact for combo duration, status chance, and this one's more my personal preference, but Primed Reach. Since this adds flat range, it makes almost every melee weapon a fairly solid rune clearer melee. It's like with the kings of it being the ones with the highest range, like Pole Arms or the Wolf Sledgehammer. So you're looking at something with some really good ones there. So now on to the test. I don't have a Riven for this, but you could easily do some solid builds with very solid Riven. Since again, 1.29 Riven disposition or 4 blips. See, look at this. Like, even though this thing technically doesn't say anything in the UI, one bonus is that I really just noticed this thing can proc slash. I can't remember what combo triggers it, or if it's just like something that's hidden, like that this UI is just lying about. But the fact that the Prova Vandal proc slash, more benefits to Condition Overload. So, in terms of Prova Vandal, you're really looking at a solid melee weapon here. Almost as good as the Machete Wraith, if I had to say. It's like, if you get the Prova Vandal before Machete Wraith, don't need to toss it. You've got yourself a solid melee weapon here that can handle 165 bombards with relative ease. I mean, look at this. See? Oh, that was a finisher. But because Shattering Impact strips flat armor, it's consistently stripping the same amount of armor from every enemy. So there's no bias when it comes to the corrosive procs, though they do help, and though the corrosive procs are actually helping in some areas. So Prova Vandal, looking good, if I do say so myself. So Prova Vandal, worth picking up after Melee 3.0? Yes. Just like if Barra brings it before you get your hands on Machete Wraith, easily worth it. Now the next one, as my mouse is just conveniently hovering over, is the Rakta Dark Dagger. Now, before Melee 3.0, the main usage of this was purely the usage of combo lethality, covert lethality, which instantly insta-killed anything. But nowadays, this dagger is still very solid. I mean, it's like, right with this build, 100% status chance, and a fairly okay crit. So I was able to make use of Blood Rush with this. So while I have my ideal build isn't on here, because if Gleaming Blight didn't exist, I would have put Organ Shatter here. And if you don't have that augment, you could still just use Organ Shatter. That wouldn't really be much of a biggie. So for the build, we've got Stinging Thorn as the stance. I've tried others, but I feel that this one's the best one for me. Well, I haven't tried the other one since Melee 3.0, but still, this one did well for the testing. You got Condition Overload for melee weapons. Again, sort of mandatory when you've got this high a status chance from this build, and like 4 procs right off the bat with it. So Condition Overload kind of mandatory because it's like significantly better than Prime Pressure Point if you're just looking for damage output. Primed Reach, again, just to allow my melee weapons to do room clearing. If you want to just add raw damage, you could add prime pressure point, or you could add covert lethality if you're still into the whole finisher stick. You could add potentially add sacrificial steel, or you could add prime fury. There's plenty of options, but when it comes to the Rakta Dark Dagger, I would not suggest picking this up for a Riven disposition, because it does not have the highest disposition ever. It's like, if I remember correctly, it was one blip, and when you looked at it, it's like it was very low because its frequent usage was a thing because of the whole blight augment, as well as the fact that covert lethality was a thing, so that was drastically affecting its position. But otherwise, you're looking at some fairly okay stats. Much like the Prova Vandal, the Rakta Dark Dagger be acquired at Mastery Rank 8. It has the same attack speed as the Prova Vandal at 1, a range of 1.75. Okay, it's alright, especially if you add Prime Reach. And this is the kicker. This is why... I remember my memory was right. It has one blip of Riven disposition and a multiplier of 0.52. So you're looking at some very weak Rivens here, so I wouldn't suggest picking up a Riven for the Rakta Dark Dagger unless it has some ridiculously high stats for that disposition. And it's got a base crit chance of 12%. Not very high, so not really worth putting this for full not worth it at all, actually, to build this for full crit. So in that case, you're pretty much just better off going for a hybrid build with Blood Rush being a support mod, as I would call it, because what I mean by that is it will affect Berserker, which means I'm attacking much faster, but the crit is also helping because it's basically multiplying the damage with that multiplier regardless, so you're getting more damage out of it rather than if you just went full status. So when I did testing, as I said earlier, this was doing fairly well, and this was mainly used back in the day for just covert lethality. It was just a stereotypical dagger with one bonus perk of being able to trigger the blight effect, which grants energy on as you stack affinity. So, which was really good for things like Oberon's Renewal, Excalibur's Exalted Blade, if you were using that, if you were flicking between that every now and then. Oh wait, no, correction, not Exalted Blade, because that was an Exalted Melee weapon. You see here, look at that. 4 165 Bombards, the weakens radiation, so helping viral, slash, and puncture. This dagger is really good. It may not be the highest DPS weapon, but damn does it come close, because I've seen the DPS of something like the Kukri Dagger Zaws from Headshot. It was I feel that this would be pretty close. That's just me though. So with the Rakta Dark Dagger, still worth picking up at the melee 3.0. I'm sounding like a broken record with this, but yes, easily worth picking up. So that I'll quickly cut over to the next one. Okay, so I was sort of guilty about using these, purely as MR fodder in the past, because I never really thought much of claws. But when I was really blown away by Vanker Prime, so I had to look at the other set of claws that very few people actually mention. I looked at Triburs's video when he was reviewing the melee weapons, and yeah, that didn't quite work. Because, he gave these as a pretty bland rating. It's they had okay damage. So it was okay damage-wise, but it wasn't really good anywhere else. It was just a generic set of claws. It had its disadvantages compared to the Venka Prime. And the melee weapon, if you couldn't tell by what's on my hands, because I set it to invisible when holstered, but that's bugged on this for some reason, is the Ripkas. Now, as you can see in the screen, I'm using 4 riders, but there's a reason for that. I used Vermilion Storm mainly, but because of how a few of the combos have that ragdoll effect that resembles Titania's Lantern, yeah, it wasn't really working for me, especially in this open area, the Simulacrum. So, that does not mean Ripkas is bad. It's like, it was not the ideal stance I wanted to use here, but because of that effect, but let's see, I'll show you, let's go back to Vermilion Storm. Actually, let's try Malicious Raptor, because I was using Vermilion Storm, and then I tried 4 Riders. So with the build, we've got Blood Rush, which is good, because base crit chance of 20%, and an average crit multiplier, so easily benefits from these two. Then we have Berserker. Good, like, it's pretty mandatory on this, unless you have a strong Riven for it, because Riven disposition-wise, it's fairly high. 5 blips and a multiplier of 1.38. You can easily get a very strong Rivens out of this. Then we have Condition Overload for our base damage, because it has the base IPS. You could do Viral, if you get other stats to it. If you get another Elemental from a Riven, you could have extra multipliers from Condition Overload. Pretty open-ended in terms of what stats you could have on a Riven. So, especially with they're changing a lot of the stats. So the only one I realistically don't like these days is what happened to the Maiming Strike effect. So you could have that as a negative, and it wouldn't do bugger roll. It wouldn't do bugger roll to the damage output unless you were one that likes to spam slide attacks on claws for whatever reason. So the rest of the build, we got Primed Reach for range. Easily one of my favorite mods, or mandatory for me. It may not be for you if you're fine with shorter range, but I like to have this range on my melee weapons, and I occasionally do swap them out because, if they're high enough range, it might be away with it, or if I just can't fit it on my build. So, Primed Reach, mandatory for my build, optional for you. Followed up, we have Vicious Frost and Virulent Scourge for viral damage. And finally, Drifting Contact for combo duration, as well as a bit of bonus status chance, which altogether takes the status chance to 39%. A bit low, but it's still fairly good for what I was aiming at. So if we go into the test, I was testing earlier, and it was fairly slow to ramp up because of 4 riders. So let's see how it does with Malicious Raptor. It's alright, easily way better than 4 riders. It's like, look at this damage output once it really gets going. Oh, there's a ragdoll, but thankfully it didn't last too long. You see, it's like once the procs start kicking in, this thing shreds. So yeah, Ripkas easily ripping up, especially when it has a low mastery rank lock of 5. There is one drawback to getting this, though, is the fact that it requires 2 weapons to craft it. You need a fully crafted Ankyverse and a fully crafted sorry, my mouth not wanting to work there. Fully ranked dual cleavers, followed by 2 Tellurium and 1 fully crafted Forma and 40,000 credits. So crafting-wise, these are a bit expensive. But is it worth picking up? Still, I'd say yes, because let's have a look, see. Because when you look at the Venka Prime, it has a very high, it's mastery rank 14. The Ripkas can be acquired at mastery rank 5. Oh, sorry, there goes my phone. Yeah. So Ripkas, worth picking up if you want a decent set of claws? Yes. Because Venka Prime, you're going to be waiting a while in mastery ranks before you can get them. So, if you want a solid set of claws, pick up the Ripkas. The blueprints available from the market, and you can easily just if you've already maxed out the base Ankyverse and dual cleavers, and you already have their variants, then I see no reason why you can just get rid of it. I would use the normal variants if I had the builds, but that's me though. Still though, Ripkas worth picking up. So all in all, we're looking at a very good running so far. All 3 melee weapons have very high have done really well in damage output. So really no reason to pick all 3 of them up. So with that, I think you're watching. Again, I want to apologize for like forgetting to even load. I don't even know how to do that whole community posting, or if that's like gated behind how many subscribers a YouTuber has. So not really sure on that, but eventually I will figure those out, and I will be able to keep updated it better. I do have a Twitter, but I'm not making that public yet. Like making that publicly known, because I very rarely use Twitter. So do that what you will. I'm not just gonna like plug a ton of things. It's like I'm just gonna focus on YouTube. Eventually I might stream on Twitch or something like that. Still not certain on that. Right now I'm just casually doing things my way. Die Nolly. So yeah, back to the weapons, all three easily worth picking up. Ripkas are a bit on the expensive side, but if you've already maxed out the base variants of those weapons, you pretty much don't have you won't have much of a problem. So yeah. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. I'll try and keep my uploads back to their weekly format, and I will also work on another another video where I pit two weapons against each other, because I really had a lot of fun working on the Dagger Prime versus Plasma Sword video. So I'm going you could bet your ass I'm going to be doing another one of those. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Yeet!